I'm the storyteller, and my stories must be told. I have many stories, tales for both the young and old. I have many voices to describe many places. Many names have I, and many faces. In Russia I am Ivan, in Sweden I am Jan. In Germany I'm Johann, in America I'm John. From my many travels I have gathered these tales to teach you good sense when all else fails. Sometimes there are tears, sometimes there is laughter, but always are happily ever after.
Long ago and far away in a wild and beautiful country, there was once a young Indian brave. He lived in a small frontier fort with his parents and other Indians. They lived in peace with the white man who was settling that land. This young and handsome warrior was called Great Heart. His family had once freely roamed the plains and forests of that vast country, but now misfortune had brought them low, and his father was forced to do hard and humble work for a harsh master. Great Heart's father was determined that his son would have a better life. He decided that the boy was now old enough to go out into the world and seek his fortune. His fortune could certainly not be made by remaining in the fort. He told Great Heart that there was the daughter of a great chief who lived on the far shores of a great lake. The chief wanted a brave warrior as her husband. Great Heart should go and try and win her hand. His mother presented him with potent charms that would keep him safe and give him the strength of 10. The parents sent their son off on his quest with many blessings and reminders to live up to his name of Great Heart. For many days, Great Heart traveled in the wild forests, always remembering his father's instructions to keep the sun behind him in the morning and in front of him in the afternoon. On and on he traveled, venturing much farther than he'd ever been before through this untamed country, not encountering a soul. He ate what he could hunt. He drank clear water from the great lake. He traveled steadily on, wondering what the next day would bring, and whether he would ever find the chief's village. Deep in thought, Great Heart was astonished suddenly to almost fall over a man who was tying large rocks to his ankles. The boy greeted the stranger and asked him politely what he was doing. The man then told him that because he could run so swiftly, when he chased deer, he outstripped them. He tied the rocks to his ankles to slow him down. Because of this, he was known as the Man of the Heavy Ankles. Then Great Heart told his new friend of his quest and asked if he knew of the chief with a daughter. The Man of the Heavy Ankles did not, so Great Heart invited him to join in the quest, for that is the way to great fortune. As he hadn't seen many deer in the forest, the Man of the Heavy Ankles readily agreed to the suggestion. The Man of the Heavy Ankles could see that Great Heart had a special quality and would be a special friend. He cut away the weights from his ankles. Their partnership was now agreed. The two newfound friends travelled on together, enjoying each other's company as they exchanged stories and their thoughts. The miles certainly seemed to go more quickly now that they had each other to talk to. But they hadn't travelled very far when they suddenly came upon the most extraordinary sight. A large man lying flat on his stomach and drinking water from the lake as if his life depended on it. The two friends watched in amazement as the man drank and drank and drank. They feared he might even empty the lake with his terrible thirst. When he paused for breath, they simply had to ask him why he needed so much to drink. "I am the man of the great thirst," he told them. "No matter how much I drink, I always need more. I live here, as I need all the water the lake can give." Greatheart and the man of the heavy ankles were so amused by this strange story that they immediately invited the man of the great thirst to join them in their quest for adventure and fortune. "Why not?" he replied. "As long as I have plenty to drink, I'm happy to join you." The three happily set off together to do great deeds and to win much treasure. They hadn't travelled very far when they came upon a most strange sight. A man lying down with his ear pressed hard to the ground. He saw the three friends looking at him in astonishment, so he explained that he had been listening to the sound of a small plant growing on the other side of the forest. Because of his sharp hearing, he was known as the Magnificent Listener. Well, someone with such acute hearing would be a most useful companion on the hazardous quest the three friends were undertaking. They asked him if he would like to join them. As the plant has now finished growing, he replied, "Why not?" This is how the Magnificent Listener joined the lad of the great heart, the man of the heavy ankles, and the man of the great thirst with their search for the chief and his daughter. On they travelled as the sun sank low in the sky, looking for a place where they could shelter for the night. When they came to a clearing, they saw a man holding a hunting bow and gazing intently into the sky. Greatheart approached him and asked him what he was looking for. "I have shot an arrow in the air," the man replied, "and I am waiting for it to come down. As I can shoot as far as the horizon, it will take a little time." Greatheart's companions all stared up into the sky. Nobody could see the arrow, strain their eyes though they did. At last the stranger said, "I can see it, but it's so high it will still take some time to come down." It was certainly higher than the tip of the tallest pine tree, so while they waited for the arrow, Greatheart told the man of their quest for the chief's daughter. The shooter of the high arrow agreed to join them. Perhaps his skill with the bow and arrow may come in useful. On and on they travelled until they rounded the uppermost end of the great lake and felt sure they were now nearing the chief's village. hearts rose in anticipation, while Greatheart wondered what tests the chief would make him undertake to win his daughter's hand in marriage. Suddenly, a brave appeared in front of them and asked them their business. Greatheart explained their quest, and the brave said, "You have found her. Come, I shall take you to her father, our chief." He led Greatheart to the largest tent in the village where the chief sat. The chief greeted the young man courteously and invited him to sit next to him, asking him what was his mission. Greatheart explained that he had come with his companions to seek the hand of the chief's daughter. "Many warriors have wooed her," the chief replied. "Before I consent to any marriage, the suitor must undertake tests that I have devised to ensure that he is worthy." As the chief spoke, his daughter came out of the tent, and Greatheart was immediately struck by her warmth. He tried to listen, as her father told him he had to undertake 3 tasks. First, to test his strength. Another, to test his ingenuity. The third, to test his physical endurance. She fervently hoped that Greatheart would be able to complete the tests that her father set. The young man seemed very confident. She knew how difficult they were, and how many other brave and handsome men had failed. Without further ado, the chief told Greatheart and his companions that he would set the first test. Leading them out of the village, he showed them 2 great rocks set on a hill. "A bag of magic stones is safely buried beneath these rocks," he told them. "It was put there by a great god, and since then, no one has been able to move them. It is up to you, young man, to show me your strength and retrieve the stones." Greatheart called upon the charms his mother had given him to increase his strength 10-fold. With a great heave, he managed to move away the first rock, and then, taking a deep breath, he stooped again to move the second. Calling on the charms, he strained and pushed. Slowly, the second rock moved away, and there, safely lying in the hollow caused by the rock's great weight, he saw the little leather pouch. "Well done, young man," the chief cried, while the princess sighed with relief. "You have passed the first test." "Come and join us in our feasting. We shall see if your appetite is as great as your strength." He bade Greatheart and his companions take their ease, while all the village maidens served them at the feast. They didn't need a second invitation. In their long march to the village, they had had to live off the land, and the pickings had been sparse. They were healthy young men with hearty appetites, and they set to it with a will. The food was delicious, and everyone did full justice to every dish that the villagers presented to them. They ate steadily on. They agreed that it was the tastiest food they had ever eaten. If this was to test Great Heart's appetite, he should be able to pass with flying colours. He and his companions were making short and enjoyable work of eating. The princess watched him anxiously. She knew only too well that the real test was to follow. The four companions did not draw breath until they had finished every crumb of that enormous and delicious meal. By the time the feast came to an end, they were ready to admit that they would not have been able to manage another mouthful. Groaning and replete, they lay down in the sun, feeling so full they believed that they would not need to eat for another month. "Now that you have eaten," the chief cried, "let us drink." Two young men rolled on two enormous barrels full of water. The friends looked at those vast barrels in dismay when the chief told Great Heart that every drop in each barrel had to be drunk. That was the second test for his daughter's hand. Great Heart made an important statement. A true leader need not do everything himself. He must give each task to him that is best suited to succeed in its undertaking. The man of the great thirst was given this assignment. All that food made him feel decidedly thirsty, and he didn't need to be asked twice to get going. His capacity was truly astonishing. He emptied one barrel until it was bone dry, and then, barely pausing for breath, he got stuck into the second. Surely it would prove too much for him. Not a bit of it. He drank and drank thirstily, and finished every last drop. "Don't you have any more to drink?" he cried when he had finished. "I'm still a little thirsty." "By your ingenuity, Great Heart, you have successfully passed the second test," the chief told him. "But the third test is by far the hardest. The fleetest man in our village will race against you, or one of your friends." Of course, the man of the heavy ankles was given this task. His friends waited anxiously as he and the village brave set off across country. The two contestants started the race in a friendly, almost casual manner. No one was breaking any records. They almost ambled through the forest. The race was long. The going was hard, and they needed to conserve their strength. The sun rose higher and higher, and they began to feel tired and thirsty. "Let us stop for a drink," the man of the heavy ankle suggested. "We've got plenty of time to finish the race." "You may have, but I haven't," his opponent retorted, and off he ran, as the man of the heavy ankles lay back in the warm sunshine. He decided there was time to catch up on some 40 winks. A child from the village reported to the anxious friends that the village champion was eating up the miles, and there was no sign of the man of the heavy ankles. What had become of him? If he lost the race, then everything was lost. It was essential to find him, and quickly. the magnificent listener placed his ear to the ground and heard the vibrations of the man of the heavy ankles snores as he slept in the hot sun. "He is 10 leagues to the west," he reported to his friends. Well, that was as many inches to the shooter of the high arrow. He let loose a swift and steady arrow in the direction the magnificent listener pointed. Sure enough, it found its mark straight and true, piercing the water bag the man of the heavy ankles had placed above his head. The cold water immediately woke the sleeping man, who, now realizing how urgent the race had become, ran off at full speed after the village champion. Faster and faster he ran. His friends prayed for his victory. It did seem as if the village runner now had such a lead that he could never be beaten, and that Great Heart would not marry the chief's daughter. No one could guess at the man of the heavy ankles' extraordinary speed. He could run faster than the wind. Hills, boulders, valleys, the miles were eaten by his lightning stride. It was not too long before he caught sight of the village runner toiling ahead of him, swift though that man was. With a great burst of strength, the man of the heavy ankles leapt past him like a fleeing deer and made the winning post with inches to spare, still feeling fresh and lively and ready for another race. The 3 tests were successfully completed. Great Heart could now ask the chief's daughter to marry him, to which she happily agreed. It must be said that everyone in the village was just as happy with the match. And Great Heart's mother and father would now be able to live with dignity. The couple was surely the handsomest bridal pair anyone could ever remember. Her father gladly performed the marriage ceremony, binding them together. Great Heart and his wife lived together in harmony for the rest of their days.